For some reason, they reversed, both of them reversed those services. So we have been trying since then for quite some time to bring to the table no roaming rates across the Caribbean region, and for specific reasons. The first of it was that both Digicel and Cable and Wireless, the two major providers of telecommunication services in the Caribbean, have established basically a single space across the region. In other words, the equipment and services that they have set up across the region is as if it was one place without any borders, without any seas or large rivers in between. Each of our countries is surrounded by ocean, by the Caribbean Sea, sorry, but their infrastructure is set up as if it was one platform, one single land space. So there was no real reason for them to charge us these roaming rates. That's one. Secondly, we were asking for home-based rates when you travel across the region, especially for mobile services, where a person will be connecting to their mobile device and using data of which you know the rates are pretty high. Data rates can cripple you if you're using data for roaming, if you're using data for connecting to a virtual meeting, a conference, for training, for business, all that kind of stuff. It will cost you quite a bit. And so we were asking them to change that, not to interfere with what was coming in from visitors. In other words, a visitor coming out of Europe or North America or Africa or some other part of the world into the Caribbean and traveling across the Caribbean would be subject to roaming simply because they're changing from one network to another, and the handshake and the various contracts between the operators would come into play. So let's say, for example, if you're coming from Oftel, for example, into the Caribbean, the rates you're paying part will go to Oftel, part will go to either Digicel or Flow or whoever else was within the region at that particular time. So we have had our Prime Minister, the Honourable Mayor Motley, we have had Dr. Keith Mitchell from Grenada, as well as all the Prime Ministers across CARICOM who are part of Quartet, as you know it, sit down with us and discuss this issue of roaming. And the aim is to eliminate roaming. What you have seen recently is an agreement which says the operators are assuring us that they will get to the stage where they will offer citizens in the Caribbean region a suitable rate that is, one, predictable, two, that is not expensive, three, that they will continue to work with us on reaching the stage where roaming will no longer exist. And as I said earlier on in my response, there was a time when both of them were offering home rate roaming. In other words, you're paying as though you're still at home. There's no reason for them to ask for roaming fees anymore. And as you also know, the governments across CARICOM are looking to have a single ICT space for business, one that allows us to delve into an economy that is fit for purpose, one that we need now more so than ever, so that we can be competitive. The European Union is a very good example of this. They have a single economy. They operate as though they're in a single space. You don't pay for roaming anymore in the European Union, and we will reach that stage. What the details that you're asking for, what is the rates like, we do not know that yet. But we have a commitment, and they've signed this agreement and agreed to it at the highest level in Grenada last week. So we look forward to that, and we will continue to press for that. So that's just one of several things that we will be looking at. The other area we're looking at as well is the data rates we're paying for, because the data rate implicitly impacts on what you're going to be paying for as you roam. When you move from Barbados to Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Vincent, Jamaica, you are going to be connecting using data. You're going to be connecting using a a commodity that is costly, we want to see those rates come down as well, so that it incentivizes persons, individuals, and businesses to travel across the region to do business. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister, your ministry is entitled Industry, Innovation, Science, and Technology. And for me, there's one particular area that has piqued my interest, and that is the science. We were faced over the last couple of years with two, what we call the twin existential threats of climate change and COVID-19. It has shown the importance of scientists and scientific bodies around the world. My question to you, does your ministry have a plan in place to form a scientific body? So for instance, that we can have in rapid time a response to these things. And then look at the other things, like the other emerging realities, the phytopharmaceuticals, the biosecurity that will become an important part of our protection of our borders, etc. How we will speak to, for instance, the new realities that the electrons from the plants will become the new renewable energy, and the whole trust in terms of ensuring that there is a reduction of our greenhouse gases and the effects thereof. What is the plan in place to have scientific body to respond to these things in Barbados so that we will be able to fight off these existential threats and the new realities that you just mentioned? Thanks.
That's an excellent question, Minister. I will allow, you touched on two different areas there, science proper and then also the biodiversity, etc. So I'm going to actually ask two directors to jump in there, the CEO of BIDC, Mr. Hill, on the life sciences part, and then obviously part and not park, but he will also talk about the life sciences park. And then I'll also ask Director Charles Cyrus to speak more in a fulsome manner relative to science in general. And I can say to you that we are taking science seriously in this ministry. We have created not only one but two programs in particular that relate to science. One would have been the science camps, the science and technology summer camp, and also which focuses on STEAM, STEAM, science, technology, energy, I think, arts and mathematics, I think, is still the main M there. And also we're focusing on the robotics collaboration and education project. And those two programs themselves focus on building out a scientific ethos amongst our young people. And I think that that is what is going to make the difference now here and going forward. And then I'll allow Mr. Hill to speak on the life sciences part of your question. So Mr. Cyrus first.
Charles Cyrus, Director, Science, Market Research and Innovation. I just wanted to speak in relation to science. Our focus for the coming year will be on, as we continue, because this is not a new focus, will be on science and technology popularization. As you hear popularization, you might wonder what does that really mean. Popularization really is about getting the general public to be excited about science. Is about closing the gap in knowledge between the scientists and members of the general public. In relation to, so there are a number of activities under that theme, I would say, of popularization of science and technology. One of the programs that we'll be rolling out continue. It did not take place in the previous year because of the pandemic, but I want to highlight the Science and Technology Festival, which is a collaboration between University of the West Indies and MIS. And what it does is to put science on the microscope, basically. It's like, I mean, some individuals might even refer to it as a fair, but we just put this twist on it and call it a science festival. And the festival brings together all areas of science under one roof, where we're showcasing science, and we're trying to to explain the link between science and technology and development. So you see the importance of science. And the participants in the festival ranges from the school system, as the minister mentioned earlier. The work of MISS would often interface with various ministries. One of the ministries that we see a natural relationship with is the Ministry of Education and the educational system. So here we bring together young people at the primary level, the secondary level, and also the tertiary level, because obviously it's a collaboration between MISS and the university. So throughout that, we give the young people opportunity to see science in action. We give them opportunity for young aspiring scientists to interface with senior scientists and researchers. And so part of that program also give researchers at university an opportunity to showcase what is taking place at the university, because often the members of the general public sometimes think that the university is a hill up there, and they're not really conscious of the work that they're doing. But we give them an opportunity to showcase this work and see the link between what they're doing and development. And this particular festival covers all gamuts of science, whether it's medical science, whether it's drone technology, whether it's climate change that you mentioned. I recall in 2020, we had the meteorological services and explaining weather patterns and so on, whether it's solar energy, alternative energy. So the whole gamut. And we've had medical science as well as part of that. So that is one program. Another program that I like to mention, and this is a new one, is the Mass Olympiad. And some might wonder, what is the Mass Olympiad? Well, actually, Mass Olympiad is a mass competition. It provides an opportunity for the public and parents and general and students to become excited about science. We know that mathematics is really a foundational science, but generally there's a phobia around mathematics. I know that every year in terms of CAPE examinations, and so we highlight students that do well, and very often some of the students who do CAPE mathematics do well. But those are the high flyers. But in general, we need to move more people, into that area, especially if we're talking about some of the technologies now, the 21st century technologies, the technology that are associated with the fourth industrial revolution. If we are talking about AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, those technologies have their basis in computer science and mathematics, right? So you have to have a grounding, especially if you want to be a creator of these and not necessarily a user. I mean, we need to have both, but we need to have creators as well, and you need to have that solid background in science. I mean, artificial intelligence in terms of creating is all about algorithms. This is what you normally do in terms of mathematics and so on. So we want to focus on that. And I mean, the area of mathematics really is one that there's a problem generally, throughout the Caribbean. If you look at CXC, results and so on, there's always this issue with mathematics. So we need to focus on it. We need to make math sexy, if you want to use that terminology, because we know that there's this general fear about mathematics, but it can be alive and so on. It also gives students an opportunity to be involved in a competition. I must say that the Mass Olympiad is new to Barbados. This is going to be the first one in this year, 2022, but it's not new across the world. In fact, Mass Olympiad has been an activity, what I would call a science popularization activity, since 1959. I think it started in Romania, and every year it is an international competition. In fact, in last competition, over 100 countries were represented, not any country from the Caribbean. So we have to get the Caribbean on board because we know of the importance of mathematics as that foundational science. In fact, all the evidence suggests that students who, especially at the tertiary level, that are weak in science, they tend to fall out and fall on the wayside. So we need to, one of the ways that we can actually approach, we can influence how students approach science is to make it popular and and attractive for them to be a part of. So that is another program that we're introducing this year. Obviously, we talk about robotics, and our focus again here, we are trying to complement the work of the Ministry of Education, because we are aware that the Ministry of Education will be embarking on a program to introduce robotics and coding within the school system. So we are aware of that, but we don't really want to, we just want to complement, not necessarily, well, we can't take on the work of the Ministry of Education anyway, but we would like to complement it. And our focus is on social robots. And whereas, from my understanding, the work of the Ministry of Education will be on service robots. So there's a slight difference, because the social robots, there's greater interaction between the robot and human beings. And if you look at the applications that we will be focused on, is like marketing, is like in education. I mean, the robot as a helper, all right, and marketing as well. So we see our focus here is on social robots. In fact, we've already started a program. Currently, we have a program that's ongoing that I've started, in which we are targeting 2 groups, primary levels, which is from students from age 8 to 11, and then the secondary school, which is age 11 to 15. So we have 2 programs that have already started. They're 10 weeks programs, and we're exposing the children to social robots, the influence, what are some of the challenges with them, what is the usefulness, even the different types of robots. I mean, because people talk about robots, but they're about in excess of 10 different classes of robots, right? So we're exposing the young people that. So our efforts in terms of science popularization is really to get young people and the general public, parents and so on, to be excited about science and technology. Or STEAM. We will not leave out the arts part out, because we know that is the mandate of the government to ensure that the arts component is not left out of the promotion.
Thank you. Just to say, finally, Minister, I'm excited to see what is going to happen with the robotics program, knowing full well that it has gone full steam ahead in other countries. It is no secret that Barbados is signatory to both the Rotterdam and Stockholm Convention, which looks at persistent organic pollutants and how they be able to pollute the atmosphere. We look at certain pesticides that we spray in the agricultural sector. We look at certain herbicides. And in other countries, they use robots now to be able to pull the invasive flora and work in the agricultural sector. Even me as Minister of Environment in my million tree planting drive would love to be able to access the usage of this technology instead of us having to use these harmful chemicals that can have a greenhouse gas effect. And I look forward to the day where robotics become an integral part of the new realities going forward, as well as having the ability. We just had a period of COVID where they had shut down for a period of the time. And if we had drone technology and robotics being used, I think that this is the way we could have eased the pain associated with those shutdowns, and to be able to access food and what's not for persons. I think it's a very, very good way to be going in terms of how we should be exploring all the full potentials of technology. And I look forward to the day when Barbadians can have this knowledge and this expertise and this technical assistance, so we can enter these new dimensions. Thank you, Minister.
Chair, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mark Hill, the CEO of BADC, also wanted to weigh in on the second part of Minister Ford's statement. So just, if you can give him 2 minutes, we would appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Minister. Yeah, so in light of the Barbados becoming that hub for science, is a very key strategy in our repositioning our exports, particularly our scientific exports, how we boost that. So what we do have coming online as we seek to build out the business of science is that we have a study coming up a comprehensive diversification study coming up that allows us to have a comprehensive analysis of how many scientists we have on the island, what is the scientific capacity that we need in order to get to our numbers, what is the build out, the roll out, and what is the economic roadmap from that scientific point of view. So that life science study is soon going to be launched, and it's going to cover a number of areas, medical technologies, pharmaceuticals market. The clinical trials is also going to explore marine biotechnology. Also in terms of industrial robotics, because as we speak about robotics, we are primarily talking about it from an educational, social point of view, but robotics is a very central part of the manufacturing process today. So we're looking at how do we integrate and make sure that we're producing our products to the necessary standards as far as our pharmaceuticals is concerned, using robotics to help us to produce necessary drugs and products that we want to use. So to answer the question in terms of a science council, absolutely, because one of the key parts of our strategy for growing our life science market is that we must put in place a global life science council. And this is at least having some of the leading life scientists on this council, along with some of our Barbadian counterparts, so that the standards is at a global level, and also that the recommendations that are coming through as far as policy is concerned is on par as what's happening in the international community. So Minister, we really want to underscore that what you articulated, we're on track to execute in the short term. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Member. Honourable Member for St. James South.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to congratulate the Minister on his appointment. You have an exciting ministry with an exciting program, which we need to see come to reality, because I believe it's a major part of transforming Barbados. I too am excited because I've been given an assignment as Minister of State in the Ministry of Energy and Business Development, and so there's a lot of synergy between the two ministries. One of the things that's key for me is that there is a need in Barbados to create a more inclusive business environment where we're able to bring more people into the ring of business. We've certainly had an explosion of small business development, but many of them sit on the periphery and feel themselves not necessarily included in the opportunities, etc. And so we've not been having the greatest level of freshness in terms of bringing in new persons into the fold to help build out Barbados. I noticed that in your program, subheading 462, you have assigned to you 11.2 million to look at the development of manufacturing and services, as well as promoting export and fostering entrepreneurial activity. If you could share with us, what are the plans you have in the ministry for broadening participation among a wider group of persons and ensuring that they get access to the opportunities that will assist them to be able to build stronger businesses that can take Barbados forward and help us to meet our target of being able to increase the economy and the gross domestic product of the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. You are hitting the nail on the head relative to the plans, and the CEO of BADC would have alluded to some of those initiatives that we're going to roll out, so I'm going to go back to him shortly. But just to say that we have something coming on board, which is an innovation challenge. And you would have seen the BIDC even before this innovation challenge would have rolled out different innovation challenges relative to even how do we deal with the sargassum seaweed. We plan in that regard to democratize innovation. When I use that term, what I mean is that we're trying to make innovation as broadly accepted as we possibly can, including all of our citizens. You know, when you use big words like innovation, people think that you have to be sitting down in a lab, you know, concocting something and putting things together and coming up with this boom of an explosion of an idea. But in many times, innovation is very incremental in nature and is just based on current needs and finding a solution to a problem, and you just piece by piece make something better and improve it, and improve a process, and improve a product. So we are going to continue to do exactly what we've been doing thus far, which is to include as many of our citizens into the innovation process so that we can inculcate an environment, an attitude, and atmosphere, an ethos towards innovation and finding solutions to problems. And that's simply what innovation is. So the BIDC is already leading the way in this regard, and there are many programs that are on board to help us in that regard. And I think that even as some of these various school-based initiatives that we have talked about in the science realm, we will be able to see more persons being a participant in the innovation process and in the business process going forward. Because once you innovate, it gives the opportunity for commercial endeavor to manifest. I will say to you as a last point before handing over to CEO, is that the BIDC has a team of business development officers. And those business development officers go to work every single day to work with the average Barbadian, the small business person, the small entrepreneur, the micro enterprise, and to help them to find a way to get their business to the next level. If it is that a person out there has a small shop and maybe just a small product, not even a shop, but they have one individual product. We were saying in the retail world, a SKU, stock keeping unit. If they have one unit, one item that they think is a winner, and they wanted to come to the business development officers at the BIDC and have a conversation with them, that person is there to help them to invest in their business, not only from the point of view of funding, which can be obtained through the BIDC, through the Special Technical Assistance Fund, but also through technical expertise and advice, counsel that can help them to shape their business and to form it and to structure it so that it goes from just being an idea and a nice product to being an actual commercial enterprise that can then be built out and go even further than what that person may have first imagined. So you're right on. We want to play our part in business development and to ensure that every person here has the opportunity, every one of our citizens has the opportunity, even from a fledgling idea, to be able to take that, bring it to us, and see how we can help them to shape it out and build it out so it can be an opportunity for wealth creation for themselves and the generations to come. I will hand over now to the CEO of BIDC, and he could speak more so to your question.
Thank you, Minister. Yeah, one of the things I want to underscore is that export business, export entrepreneur is a strong business and a strong entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Barbados is within the context of a market that is only 300,000 persons maximum. And COVID has shown us that our base load capacity within that market space is about $4 billion US. And if we're going to grow our economy, our entrepreneurs, our enterprises must have an export-oriented mindset. It's critical.
Absolutely.
So as long as we keep focusing inward, what we're doing, we're committing ourselves to build weaker organizations. Now let me explain what I mean. We can either try to produce what I call triathlons, so people who can run, ride, and swim, which is very, very expensive to do in terms of the investment in producing that type of entrepreneur, or we can focus on producing good riders, which are local entrepreneurs who can get around the island and generate as much revenue as they can within the 300,000 market. Or we can produce swimmers that can go beyond the shores of Barbados and reach into the region, reach into the globe, explore the 52 bilateral agreements that this country has with all the other nations around the world, so that we now have access to a $28 trillion market, right? Our 52 bilateral agreements give us access to over $500 billion in market. So we want to really orient our entrepreneurs that there's more opportunity beyond the shores of Barbados. So to that extent, we have a tier system in place. And at the bottom of that tier system, which we currently have 111 persons that are registered in that particular space, we call the Export Academy. So there's a massive ecosystem in Barbados as far as small business support is concerned. So we have the trust loan, we have also youth entrepreneurship scheme, we have also enterprise growth fund, we have a massive ecosystem of almost 30 agencies out there. Export BADC, Export Barbados BADC, so that we are not a mile wide and an inch deep, and the only agency that's responsible for exports really need to focus on producing those swimmers that can get out into the globe and generate not just strong businesses, but also the foreign exchange that we so desperately need. So, but the thing is that in producing strong entrepreneurs that are exporting, it has that ripple effect on your local economy as well. So it is not a matter of giving up a focus on local small entrepreneurs. Like, for example, as I said, the berry fruit. We have a gentleman who's exporting berry fruits at a very small scale, but he's focusing on exports. Now, in Barbados, a berry fruit sells in supermarket for $3.50. That same berry fruit is selling in Canada for 20 US dollars, for 20 Canadian dollars. Sorry, it's selling in Britain for £15. So the reality is that there's more opportunity. There's more opportunity in that export space, and we therefore want to cultivate a culture of export, foster a mindset of exports among our entrepreneurs and our enterprises. Now, lastly, Minister, our private sector has a habit of focusing only on imports. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, much of that discussion is about cultivating importers. All right? Yeah. And cultivating importers. And those importers tap our reserves and sometimes consume $3 billion last year, 2021, in imports. But only 300,000 went out. 300 million went out. So less than 10% of what we're spending on importing is being spent on generating the type of businesses that export. And therefore we have that trade imbalance, as you would perfectly know, that we need to narrow that gap. And to narrow that gap, we have to really encourage every entrepreneur, regardless of the size of their business, that they can be exporters. And that's what we need to be committed to, and really getting them export ready through the Export Academy, through our export program, and then they move up the line till they become a tier 1 exporter earning over 10 million US dollars. And that's our goal, to grow them into those 10 million US dollar companies as a matter of urgency. So thank you very much.
Music to my ears, and thank you so much for that response. I just will close by saying that one of the things I'm hoping that will be a part of your program is that we will cast the net wide so that you find the gems coming out that would be ready and have the capacity to do the swimming, so that we're not just fishing in a narrow pool, but in a very wide pool to find the gems that have to be trained specially for the swimming. Because I think that this is something that we need to do, broaden that access, that the best can come through and make the best use of the limited resources we have, that we can convert it into growth. And I thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you and your team, Minister, on these matters.
Honourable Member for St. Michael Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I beg to move that you do not report progress to His Honour the Speaker, and beg leave to sit again.
The question is that I do now report progress to His Honour the Speaker. and ask for leave to sit again. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. Honourable members against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
The chairman has reported progress and requests leave to sit again. Honourable member for St. Michael's Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until Wednesday, the 2nd of March at 10 a.m.
The question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until Wednesday, the 2nd day of March at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until Wednesday, the 2nd day of March at 10 a.m. in the forenoon.